Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything in between, it is I, your host, McLateral, aka McLateral FF on the Twitter. And joining me today for a wonderful edition of The Lateral Presents is Britt Sanders. Britt, how's it going?
Wah, 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 wah. I'm doing great, man. This is my third day of my 3-day weekend I get because I work 4/10s, and I'm thrilled. I have my bucket hat on, my trendy blue light glasses. It is sunny. Pressure washers are trying to ruin this, so we're going to get it pumped out nice and quick. I'm ready to go.
Let's do it. So today we are going to be focusing on breakout candidates. So real quick, though, want to introduce the people to who you are. So you contribute to Breakout Finder. You contribute to Fantasy of Air. You contribute to Devi Deep Dive. You host the Rookie on the Rise podcast for the Fantasy Affair with your good buddies Eric Burkholder and Dynasty FF Brad. Have I missed anything?
I think that's everything. There's a couple more things that seem to be creeping up into the hemisphere of content, but I'm taking it nice and slow. This is like year one of actually really putting this into the forefront, so I want to make sure I'm able to put all my effort into the things that actually matter without overloading myself. So it may be changing shortly, but right now that's where we're at.
Awesome. Well, I dig it. Looking forward to what's coming in the future. But for now, we're going to focus on some breakout candidates. That's why we're here after all. So let's get right into it. Let's focus on 2021 QB breakout candidates. So who do you have as a rookie 2021 breakout candidate?
This is tough because most people are going to, say Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson. You can guarantee 17 games of production, assuming they're not getting injured. And I'm kind of sitting here like, I'm a wait, and I'm going to go take Trey Lance, right? So for me, Trey Lance, I love his rushing upside. So I think bare minimum, he's going to be able to give you quarterback 2 numbers just strictly on that upside. It may not be for a little bit, right? Jimmy Garoppolo is going to man the charge, so to speak, until he does Jimmy Garoppolo things. But we've seen what a quarterback like Jimmy G can do in that system with Kyle Shanahan around all those weapons. And I don't think it's too ridiculous to say that Jimmy Garoppolo is not an excellent quarterback, right? I think that Trey Lance, at worst, is a Jimmy Garoppolo level talent, right? He's able to be a game manager. When you stack that on top of his rushing upside, I think got a really good recipe for having a league winner-esque type of season this year if he's able to get in like a 5-6 weeks, a Jalen Hurts type of impact on your playoff push.
I love it, especially because you can definitely get him cheaper than someone like a Trevor Lawrence, who Trevor Lawrence is going to go off in your draft board when you do your drafting. Trey Lance, that's someone you could maybe even get on waivers, depending on how your redraft league is set up. Again, I think we kind of touch on it here, but my biggest concern would be Jimmy Garoppolo will have the job until he fails at the job. And if it's like 2019, the last year he was fully healthy, then maybe he won't fail. If it's like 2020 where he's got these niggling injuries, then maybe he'll fail, and we'll see Trey Lance. I do like his upside. I think there is a worst case scenario where he's maybe like a Daniel Jones or a Mitchell Trubisky, who I would argue for NFL purposes, worse than Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe not for fantasy, but for NFL purposes, trying to get a game managed properly. But I do love the pick. Now let's see who you got for a vet.
For my vet, there's a trend with me, right? I'm going for rushing upside, right? And so I want to preface this by saying that dynasty-wise, this isn't someone I see having a multi-year success, but this year strictly, I think Jalen Hurts is well within the reality for you. Here's my thing with Jalen Hurts, right? We all know the completion percentage, 52.5, 53%. It's also a 4-week game, or it's a 4-week game span, and the 4th week he was battling an injury. And you could kind of say that game was being managed to not necessarily get the most out of that team in that week, right? The 3 weeks we saw him put up numbers that were on pace, really impressive. 3 weeks of it, again, small sample size. I'm not going to take anything out of it. What I did see is that he was doing a better job of creating a momentum on that offense. And he was also using his legs, which in fantasy football, until the scoring by and large gets figured out, they are going to have an inherent edge. So while 2022, 2023, Jalen Hurts may not be a thing, 2021, Jalen Hurts will be a thing. And quite frankly, I'm not scared of Joe Flacco, right? I'm not worried about it. I don't think he's going to push Jalen Hurts out, even if Jalen Hurts is this 57, 60% completion percentage type of guy. It's not something I'm worried about personally.
Yeah, I tweeted about the other day when they added Nick Mullins. It's like their QB room is Joe Flacco and Nick Mullins, and I'm just like, so you're telling me that Jalen Hurts has no competition this year?
Exactly.
And I would agree. I think he'll get basically a full season unless he is absolutely terrible.
Yep.
I love that pick a lot. Let's move on then to the running backs. Who is your rookie running back breakout candidate this year?
So there's been a lot of hype going on the last couple of weeks, or actually really a week now, with Javonte Williams, right? There's one beat writer in particular that is slowly starting to kind of take the national narrative by storm, because he's been very vocal that he thinks that Javonte Williams is going to start as the lead running back week 1. I think that's a little bit much. Like, we'll see what happens, but Melvin Gordon's got some fuel in the tank. He had a really good 2019 year, even though from a fantasy perspective, it wasn't what we were hoping for. That being said, Javonte Williams, we've seen what he's been able to do behind a good offensive line and a moderate snap share at North Carolina. So I feel pretty comfortable saying that he's going to easily be a running back 2 this year with upside if Melvin Gordon has injury issues again. If Melvin Gordon, for some reason, isn't able to have the juice he had last year, or if he fumbles again, right? There's a multitude of pathways for Javonte Williams to get more opportunity, and where you can get him compared to Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, and really Michael Carter, it really just outweighs anything. Because also the nice thing about Javonte Williams is he is a good pass blocker. And what we know from last year that kept DeAndre Swift off the field, that kind of interfered with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If you can pass block, you're going to get the third down role. And we've seen what he can do as a pass catcher. Javonte Williams, while athletically leads some interest to be wanted, as a athlete or as a player, he's someone that I'm very interested in.
I agree. I really like the Javonte Williams thing. I would say like Trey Sermon's another one that people are going to pay. And like with Trey Sermon, I feel like you're not going to get a great return on investment, or at least in the early weeks you won't. Like that's going to be a lot of dead capital on your roster, at least for the early part of the season. Williams could contribute right from the get-go, especially because I'm hearing rumors maybe that Gordon's not going to report. You know, there's a lot of buzz going around there. Personally, like I'm doing Scott Fishbowl mocks right now, and like I'm taking Javonte Williams as my RB3 because I can get him late enough. I can build up some wide receiver depth, and like if I start 2 running backs and then flex some wide receivers, I got Williams as a potential flex, got him as a bye week fill-in, got him even as potential RB2 to slot in there. Like tons of options. I love the pick. Let's see if I also love the vet you've got. Who you got for me?
So we talked a little bit about what a breakout was, because for me, breakouts, they're difficult because I just think it's a
nebulous term.
It's a nebulous term. It's a buzzword, right? It's a word that people click on because it's what everyone wants to focus on. But really, we're looking at who's overvalued, who's undervalued, which leads me to my guy of Antonio Gibson. This is someone that I've been riding the train on for a long time. And it's not that I'm like, my process in this was probably a little wrong, right? I was looking at the class and I was thinking, hey, this guy's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got no production history, so a little scary, but where you can get him in terms of everyone else in the mid-second of a rookie draft, he's really, really enticing to me. So I was all about Antonio Gibson, just strictly from a value standpoint. You take in what he did in 2020. Granted, he got a little banged up here and there, and he's got a toe issue needs to be monitored. We got to kind of look at that and see where it's going to lead us. But worst case scenario, Antonio Gibson is going to see a little bit of a regression from what I think he had 11 touchdowns down into maybe 7 to 9. But J.D. McKissick had 110 receptions. He had those receptions because Ron Rivera was working Antonio Gibson in to the running back role. I feel very strongly to say J.D. McKissick's not going to have that big of a share at the running back position target-wise. Now, yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be throwing the ball deeper down the field, but he also knows how to check down. And we've seen what Antonio Gibson can do with a running back target. It is efficient and electric. So even if Antonio Gibson doesn't get 60 targets, doesn't get 50 targets, if he gets a bump up from last year's targets, a moderate amount, 15 targets, I think that's more than enough to make up for the potential regression in the touchdown department. And I do think that he is a value of where he's at. So I could very easily see Antonio Gibson finishing top 12 this year at running back.
Okay, you're a little more bullish than I am, but I do love it. I do love the player. I think I've got him right around like RB 14 or something. So I'm not like that far off. I think my biggest concern is I actually totally agree with you about the market share in terms of the running back targets. I am just concerned about the overall volume decreasing with Fitzpatrick and Curtis Samuel there. Because let's be honest, Curtis Samuel versus like Cam Sims or Steven Sims, like that's a huge upgrade alone. And then you add Ryan Fitzpatrick over what was left of Alex Smith. But I do love the skill set of Antonio Gibson. So I'm very much hoping you're right. He is certainly someone I would recommend targeting. I'm a little concerned that he maybe just fall slightly short of that top 12 breakout, but I still think he'll be really good and definitely worth a draft pick.
Really quickly, one more thing is the nice thing about Washington football team is they have an elite defense. So they're not going to be hopefully in a lot of positions to need to throw a ton to play catch up. So I do think that's going to help Antonio Gibson a little bit with running the ball a little more. But I think that's a very reasonable one because we don't really know what to expect with Ryan Fitzpatrick in his circular cycle. He's supposed to be really bad right now because there's no one pushing him. So we don't know what we're getting, right?
It could be Taylor Heineke come week 8. We'll see.
It would fit the Fitzpatrick cycle.
I love it. All right, wide receivers. Who you got for me as a rookie breakout candidate?
This is my favorite.
Ross St. Brown.
Stop reading my mind, bro. Stop it. Oh my God. Yeah. So listen, I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know why he fell. It doesn't make any sense to me because everything you've read other than his athleticism was stellar. His interviews, his production play, he did everything right and still fell. And you're like, I don't get it. But hey, listen, day 3 draft capital is a death sentence only because it means you don't get a lot of opportunity. But you know what Amon-Ra St. Brown's walking into? A F-load of opportunity. I'm sorry. I'm not afraid of Tyrell Williams. Me and Liz Loza talked about this on my podcast. I'm not afraid of Tyrell Williams. He didn't play since 2019. I like Rashad Perryman, but I'm not worried about it because Rashad Perryman's not a slot player. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a slot player. There is no one of consequence in the slot. And yes, TJ Hawkinson's going to be operating in that field. And yes, DeAndre Swift is going to be working along the flats and also getting a bunch of receptions. But they had over 200 vacated receptions. I'm a sharing person. I'm okay to give and to spread the wealth, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have a career year 1. I don't trust him past that, but I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to absolutely blow the socks off, especially with where you can get him. It is insane. A Scott Fishbowl premium player, in my opinion.
And I've definitely been targeting him as like my wide receiver 5. So I love him in redraft. I love him in Scott Fishbowl. I love him in Dynasty. Actually, I picked him up in the second round of my rookie draft. Couldn't be happier. So I love that is who you went with. And I could not agree more. Let's see if I agree with you as much on the vet though. Who you got for me for a veteran wide receiver breakout?
Yeah, so for veteran wide receiver breakout, this hurts because I was very not on the Aunt Jerry Jeudy train. I didn't really like what I saw. I wasn't a fan. I was like, I don't know. It's kind of, I prefer other players. And then I was like, I like Jalen Reagor, wide receiver 1. And now I'm like, oh, my body, my soul, it hurts. I got to do better. And so I did better this year. But I like Jerry Jeudy. He was number 2. Did I write that down? Yeah, number 2 in unactualized air yards with almost 1,000. He was number 7 in air yards, and he was number 34 in completed air yards. You know what his issues are? Drew Lock. You know what his issues aren't going to be? Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater isn't a barn burner. Teddy Bridgewater isn't a quarterback that is amazing and incredible, but he is a quarterback that is a great game manager. And that's going to mean for something. We've already seen these silly hype reports coming out in camp saying that the connection between Jerry Jeudy and Teddy Bridgewater are out of control. All that really shows me is that Jerry Jeudy is making that step. His biggest issue his rookie season was that he wasn't very efficient because hard to be efficient when you're playing with a Bo Nix type of quarterback in Drew Lock. And he had a little injury issues. He ran over the cross in the middle early week, I think it was week 3, banged up his ribs, kind of struggled to get through that mental hurdle eventually. But Jerry Jeudy is someone that I'm targeting on that Denver offense because he's cheaper than Courtland Sutton. And I think that he is going to be a wonderful 1B to Courtland Sutton's 1A and someone who's definitely going to jump a tier, maybe even 2, if he gets that touchdown regression.
I absolutely love it. I love Jerry Jeudy. He was my wide receiver one coming out of that draft class. I love what I saw out of him in Alabama. And yeah, I think he had like over 100 targets and like maybe around 50 catches. Like it was absolutely insane. I'm a little concerned about when the Teddy Bridgewater transition will happen. But once it does happen, I am no longer concerned. So I agree with you. I'm definitely going to be targeting Judy. I think he's a great value, at least at the moment. We'll see what happens to ADP as we get closer, but could not agree more that is an excellent breakout candidate at wide receiver. Let's see what you got for me at tight end, though. Rookie, tight end. This one is a little difficult and a little easy all at once because it's basically like, are we going with Kyle Pitts here? I feel like we have to go with Kyle Pitts here.
I don't even want to because like everyone knows it's Kyle Pitts. Like let's be honest, I'm not going to pretend and be like, it's not Kyle Pitts. And let me tell you why it's not Kyle Pitts, because it is. But if I had to choose a tight end that has a possibility as a rookie of breaking out that isn't named Kyle Pitts.
Okay, here we go.
I am going to say Hunter Long.
Interesting.
Right? Now, here's the reason why. Mike Gesicki, not necessarily the health guy, health stone, right? So like and this is strictly health related because there's no way Hunter Long is going to be putting up any reasonable year if Gesicki is there. But if Gesicki's not there, Hunter Long is a very good receiver out of Boston College.
It's true.
So I think that he's going to be able to fill into that role as a receiving sort of tight end. So that's kind of where I'm going with. Like now, let's be honest. Like, is he going to break out? I give it like a less than 10% possibility.
Sure.
But if he does, it's going to be because Mike Gesicki had to leave it early, and then he was able to get factored into the game plan as a receiving tight end. I mean, we saw what my next breakout tight end is, how he did his rookie year. So it's not out of their mention to stream him a little bit here and there and see if he can break into the top 15 tight ends. I'd call that a breakout for Hunter Henry.
Hunter Long, you mean, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So sorry. Hunter Long. My bad.
I mean, are we about to project a breakout for Hunter Henry?
We are not.
I would be shocked. No, I like the Hunter Long pick. I think it's an interesting one. I would agree that it's like definitely dependent, I think, on Gesicki getting injured, but the talent is there. So you're not buying the Jacob Harris hype then. You're not buying that he's going to buy a benched Tyler Higbee.
Jacob Harris is 215 pounds. Sorry, guys. He needs at least 2 years to at least fill out his frame, let alone understand the permission or the position. The only other tight end that I was thinking about saying, but I just don't want to buy in too much is Kylan Granson. There's a lot of hype around him, a lot of narratives, just not a lot of anything else. He had a really good 2019 season in SMU. It's an open room if he can win it. So if he could win it, I could definitely see him being there. I just feel more comfortable running Henry Long deep stash. If you have a deep bench, especially just in redraft, if you got a 7+ bench and you can stick Hunter Long on there, may not be a bad get. You can always dump him in a couple weeks if Mike Gesicki's fine.
I dig it. All right, who you got for me as a vet though? We know it's not going to be Hunter Henry. So who is it? It is
not. It is going to be Hunter Bryant. Now, when we coming out with breakout tight ends, I'm
Harrison Bryant.
Yeah, Harrison Bryant. I'm all over my brain today. I apologize.
There's a lot of Hunters apparently.
There's too many. There's just too many.
I get it.
It's gonna be Bryant, the orange Bryant, one on the orange team, right? So I like
Harrison. The Browns.
They are called the Browns. I like it. I like Harrison Bryant. He's someone that I thought I was really impressed with, honestly, his rookie season. Like, it wasn't gaudy, but when he got the opportunity, he was efficient in the red zone. He was a good target for Baker. He wasn't dropping passes. He was reliable. And you can see that because Baker was keen into him. Now, the issue with Harrison Bryant, got it right that time. Hey, the issue with him is David Njoku. It's his contract season. It's going to be difficult for him to see the field. The reason he saw the field so much is because Njoku got injured. So do I think Bryant showed more than Njoku has in 1 year than Njoku has his entire career? I do. Do I think Stefanski's going to agree with that? Probably not. So it's gonna take Bryant a little bit of time to get on the field, but I think it's a reality. If he's able to see similar opportunity, you're going to see even more because I really respect a tight end that doesn't get first round draft capital. They can produce what he did when given the opportunity in the NFL, because that's just historically not possible. If you're looking at strictly tight ends that break out in their first year, or at least are productive, more often than not, it's the first round draft capital tight ends. So Harrison Bryant not being that, I was really impressed and I liked what I saw.
Okay, I dig it. I think the talent is definitely there. A lot of people liked him. I think it's really telling that you said the guy he's got to worry about is David Njoku and not Austin Hooper. So like, that to me is always the interesting thing. I think Stefanski really likes him. I'm just also concerned that Stefanski really likes David Njoku, which it does seem to be the case that Kevin Stefanski does really like David Njoku. But Harrison Bryant, he's definitely talented enough. Njoku, he's definitely gotten injured in the past. I like the connection that's made there, and I do think Cleveland is going to use the tight end plenty. So I love that pick. All right, now, just to wrap things up here, I want a sleeper breakout candidate. This isn't even the guy that came to the top of your mind. This is something that you had to dig deep for to find. Give me one rookie at any position you think is going to break out that people are just like not on top of.
Oh, no, I'm not going to go Javian Hawkins. I really want to go Javian Hawkins. I really want to. I'm not going to.
I want you to go
really
Javian Hawkins.
I really wanted to, but I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to go Jalen Reagor. I'm going to ride him till I die. I'm comfortable with that. Here's the thing with Jalen Reagor. And we talked about on the podcast that dropped last week. He really got the short end of the stick, right? Two injuries, not a lot of training camp. And then he just kind of was inserted into an offense that was really difficult kind of to get the flow of and anything like that. So it was just a lot of things working against him. Now, granted, Matt Harmon charted his actual receiving route running skills, and he said it was honestly one of the worst he's ever seen. That's not good. That's not good at all. However, he's going to be running out of the slot more, which means he's going to see a little bit more cushion. And we've already seen his dynamic abilities. We've already seen his athleticism. So he's going to be able to shine there a little more. There's a lot of opportunity to go around in Philadelphia. I liked what I saw with Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor. The Jalen to Jalen connection was real. I think Devonta Smith is going to also open things up for Reagor and to a point that's going to be helpful. And I'm not sure that Reagor is going to be that track star that is going to go and run 600 meters every single game, because I think he's going to be used a lot of intermediately instead of deep. And I think that's going to really, really benefit Reagor. All you got to do is get the balls in his hand, baby, because he can make it fly once he gets it.
I like your assessment of Jalen Reagor more than I like Jalen Reagor. That is honestly how I would put it. It's like, fair. I think your assessment of it is fantastic. The opportunity is there. He's basically number 2 on the depth chart pretty much as a lock. It's him and Devonta Smith. And guess what? They don't have the same role, so they're not really going to cannibalize each other. Hurts, it's got to be better than what was going on last year. We even saw a little bit of a connection between Hurts and Reagor once that started up. And I think in the slot he will be better than if he had to go out on the perimeter. I totally agree with all that. I think it's a great pick, especially as a sleeper guy, someone that, like, I got to tell you, people are going to forget about Jalen Reagor. Like, they are absolutely going to forget about. So I do love that pick. Do you have a rookie that isn't Javian Hawkins that you have as a sleeper breakout candidate?
I do. Larry Roundtree the third. Roundtree the third out of Missouri. We saw Joshua Kelly. We know Joshua Kelly. We loved Joshua Kelly. Joshua Kelly didn't love us back. Joshua Kelly said, "Give me all the love," and he said, "F you, F off. I don't love you." It was too big for the role. It was just too much. It was too much for him. Is there possible that he can regain that role? Because it's wide open again this year, just like it was last year. Justin Jackson, as much as they like him, just doesn't have the ability to take that big role. So that leaves 2 guys that have size. Kelly, Roundtree. We've seen Kelly. I don't want to believe in Kelly again. I see Roundtree. I want to get there. So when I'm talking about, and the nice thing about Roundtree is he's cheapest out of the 3. So you just wait until the 15th, 16th round, or even waivers, and you pick him up, and it's cake. It's so easy. You'll be
able to get him off waivers,
easily. And we've seen the role that Joshua Kelly had. He had 12 to 15 carries. He had the goal line role. He even caught a little bit. I don't need a lot from that position. I just want Roundtree to get that and then give me half of what Kelly was able to give on a good week. Kelly was dropping 17 to 20 points a week. Yeah. If I can get 15, 14 points off the waivers from Roundtree, and Roundtree is able to retain that role for the season, oof. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Come on.
There's no reason he couldn't become the handcuff ultimately to Eckler either. I think while, yes, it's going to be a different offense in Los Angeles, it's not like Joe Lombardi doesn't throw the ball a ton to the running back. Like, they are going to be one of the most targeted backfields in the league. I love the Roundtree pick. The only reason I don't have more Roundtree stock is because I'm just not in the league deep enough to get it, and I prefer Ramondre Stevenson.
That's fair. That's very fair.
But that's mostly because I think Ramondre can actually take over his backfield, whereas Roundtree can't. If Ramondre fails, though, I think Roundtree's a much safer bet as a sleeper breakout. So I love that. I am so happy that you're here to like convince me on Larry Roundtree, because trust me, I want to be convinced on Larry Roundtree. I love it a lot. All right, well, that's it, man. We are done. So why don't you go ahead, tell the good people where they can find you, plug some upcoming content, and again, thank you so much for coming on.
Malcolm, really want to appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on. This was a wonderful opportunity for me, and I just really love coming on as a guest because it makes life so wonderful. Also, you can find me. I just dropped an article on the breakoutfinder.com. It was a JUCO transfer currently going into Ole Miss named Quad Davis. I strongly suggest you read it. Won't take you more than 10 minutes. If you're not in Devi, then you can wait a little bit, but he's a 2022, 2023 wide receiver that I think could give you a little Brandon Ayuk vibes, quite frankly. I am going to be dropping an article, the third article of the Chaos series, where I'm giving you control chaos into your fantasy football lives on Curtis Samuel. Stick in to see if it's a good chaos or bad chaos. And then I'm also going to dive into the deepers. The Monday Mommy dropped a beautiful article on 4for4 for kickers. I'm going to kind of build off that a little bit and tell you where you want to dive into kickers, because as you saw on my Twitter, which is down below here, right there, that one right there. We had a little work about kickers. We had a little talk. We had a great group session. We got a lot of great articles out. We got people that will get their venting so they can realize that kickers are a good position. It's not the kicker's fault. It's their fault. So I'm going to drop that. And then me and Garrett Javenna, the FF Goal Mine, are going to drop buy or sell J.K. Dobbins, because we are very, very vastly different. And I'm very excited about that article. And then Brandon Lejeune, Corey P, and I on the Devi Deep Dive, we are going to be dropping a bunch of YouTube videos coming up shortly here. And then tune in on Thursday at 10 a.m. to catch me and Bob Harris talk about what rookies we're looking at for redraft this year.
Love Bob. He's awesome. That's going to be a blast. Looking forward to all that content coming out, especially the stuff on the kickers, because people, A, kickers matter. B, if you're in Scott Fishbowl, kickers are going to matter for you. Lindellians has actually put out some really good stuff on that. Looking forward to what you've got as well coming out on that, because like I got to tell you, like I'm doing some mocks right now, and I'm taking 3 kickers because I'm going to flex those bad boys.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm absolutely going to flex.
It's going to get me some points.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I, as always, am your host, McLateral, aka McLateral FF, on the Twitter. You can find me there. You can also find me on YouTube, where you will eventually be watching this video, and you can find me on Spotify with my boy Herms, because we're going to be recording an episode of The Lateral Show tonight. This is being recorded on Tuesday, June 15th, for those wondering. So we're going to record that tonight. We're going to drop that on Wednesday, June 16th. That's going to be awesome. And then Friday, the weekly variety hour-ish is coming to you live on the Twitter, on the YouTube. And I'm going to have Parker Olheiser from
Apex.
I want to say it's Apex, yes. And then I got Rod Villagomez coming in from so many places, including the Sports Gambling Podcast Network and 14 Personnel Pod. They're both awesome. I cannot wait to have them on, just like I could not wait to have you on. So again, Britt, thank you so much for coming on. And with that, we out. Peace.